Hello everyone. In this video, we'll be fixing bugs and improve our code step by step. First, we'll address UI issues to enhance user experience. For example, when user align the heading to the right, then our container is limiting to this much only, right? So we will try to remove this extra spacing here. Then we'll fix validation issue. So take a look. If I remove it, oh, suddenly it goes back. But when you refresh it, it's in the center, right? So we're gonna remove it. And then next, we'll update our server action by adding better business logic to make the backend more robust. Finally, we'll implement the debouncing for update requests to optimize performance and prevent unnecessary API calls. This one will be a little bit tricky, but we'll break it down. But I'm gonna show you some examples here, okay? So let's just bring it back. And then when you type, as you can see, every keystroke will send a request, right? Which is no good. These improvements will make our app more reliable and efficient. If you find this helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe. Now let's get started. Let's start with the fixing UI here, right? So when we debug, let's open up the dev tool here. So let's put it to the right, and then let's make it a little bit bigger. Okay, awesome. So here, when we actually check the UI here, there are just some gap here, right? So if you take a look carefully inside of the editor, so this, the Tiptap editor is having some additional space here, right? So I think that is because the margin, let's quickly check here. So I think I can see this one. So max width is a 65 ch, right? Let me just try to give max width to be 100%. Oh, now he fixes it, right? So then it looks better now, right? So to have that, we need to find the specific element, which is inside of our text editor here. So text editor, if we go here, and then we are gonna go to use a text editor that holds all the styling inside here. So I'm gonna give max width to be full, okay? Let me just quickly try. So let's refresh. Oh, still they're just spacing. Let's take a look. So here, this is the guy. Yeah, max width full cancels out. I think that is because of this guy, right? So then what it means, we need to increase the higher specificity. So now let's just try to add the bank symbol here to fix it. Let me see. So awesome. So now let's continue, right? So one thing is done, right? So then we can have a full spacing here. Great. So no matter what, how big it is, how small it is, it's gonna work just fine, right? So then let's try the next one. So the next one, we're gonna fix the validation issue. The validation issue is this, right? So it goes back, it doesn't remember after saving it, right? So once we save, then we want to revalidate, right? So if we go to the action that we update, let's go to text editor. So on update, we are updating the text here, right? So here after the updating, we must revalidate the pass, okay? That is the projects and slash project ID here. But the problem is we don't have a project ID here. We can include the project ID while we are updating. So let's try it this way, okay? So here I'm gonna add include and then section, and the section will be selecting the ID to, sorry, the project ID to true. Then we should be able to get the project ID from here. How? The updated dot section dot project ID. So looking good. So then if you go here and then let's quickly test it, then let's refresh to start with. So here I'm gonna move to the right. Oh, now it's looking good, right? And then after refreshing, now it's good, right? So then let's test one more. Okay, looking good, looking good. So I like it, I like it. So we just revalidated pass just by fixing one. So then let's make a small commit, git add, git commit, fix UI with the Tiptap editor, and revalidate after update content. Okay. And then next thing is adding some business logic here, right? So we don't have enough business logic to handle. So what I would do is, first of all, I'm gonna check if this text record existing in our database. So what I would do is const text, and then I'm gonna send, you know, retrieval request to the text model, and then I'm gonna find unique with the where the ID is equal to the ID that we're receiving. Awesome. If this text does not exist, then we need to handle the error, right? So I'll be returning and then code with the status code, status code that is not found, and then I'm gonna send the error message. The error will be new error instance with the message not found with the ID that is text or just the ID that we're receiving. Okay, not found text record, not found text content. Let's leave it this way, text with the ID, so which is good. If it exists, then we are sending the update, right? So this specific one, I think we can leave it here because we don't need to retrieve additional data when the recorder does not exist anyway. So looking good. When it's updated, then we're gonna send data with it, right? So looking good. And then we'll be having try and catch to handle the database error. Okay, so try and catch. When error is happening, then we're gonna console error and then print the error, and then I'm gonna return with the code that is status code internal server error. Okay, and then the error will be another error instance with the message something went wrong while updating the text content. Okay, okay, so looking good in my opinion. Yeah, so let me just quickly check. So text. Okay, now so let's just throw the error first, right? So ID, I'm gonna just give random thing. Okay, random ID, then see what's gonna happen, right? So here let's try to update. Now found with the ID 18, right? So looking good. Another thing is we needed to mimic the internal server error, right? So let's try that. So here ID, let's back it up, and then here I'm gonna break it. Okay, so IDD. So let's see what's gonna happen. Okay, so here then let's try to make the error something went wrong while updating the text content. So looking good, right? So here, let's try one more, right? So something is going wrong, right? So looking good. So then what it means, it's a successful, right? So let's make a commit. Git add, git commit, update action with the better business logic. Okay, so looking good. Git push. Let's just shut down everything. So next thing we want to do is debounce, right? Currently, we are saving every keystroke, right? Or user typing. This is no good, right? It increases our database load really high, right? So to prevent that, let's go to Codebase. When we go to text editor here, we are just sending requests whenever the content gets updated. But here, let's remove things that we don't need. We needed to debounce when content gets updated, right? So that is our goal. So then now let's try to build some function called the debounce, okay? So const debounce. Here, the debounce is the function that slows things down. We have a build to use debounce, and it's going to be quite similar. Debounce will be having set timeout, okay? Set timeout with a delay, okay? Delay initially 200 milliseconds, right? So then let's make it, you know, one second. So, and then once we take the debounce here, let's just try that. So I'm gonna accept the callback here, okay? The callback that is, you know, that being called later here. So void, and then I'm gonna pass the callback here and then invoke it after 1 second, okay? So to test it, let's give the debounce here and then pass the callback, and then I'm gonna say, let's log. Maybe we can give the alert just to make it a little bit more visible. Alert debounced, okay? So let's take a look. So here, then when I change the content, debounced, right? And then debounced, right? So we are debouncing after 1 second. But the problem is, if I keep on keystroking, take a look. All right? So which is no good. We need to cancel this set timeout when we're calling this again, right? We need to abstract data, which is the ID, okay? So let ID is node.js not timeout, okay? We're gonna save it here. And then we're gonna set the ID to here, but somehow we need to remember this guy. So I'm gonna use closure to abstract my ID to be protected, okay? So I'm gonna do return that returns the function, okay? And then when this function gets called, I'm going to cancel this set timeout here. So how? Clear timeout ID. So looking good. So then whenever this guy gets called, then this function gets called, we're gonna clear out the timeout, and then we're gonna set the new timeout here, okay? So that is the idea. So let's try to invoke one more. So here, when you do that, set timeout, so this guy will be giving us another function, right? So because that's all about the closure, right? So when you are invoking it, then you are gonna receive a new function here, right? So here I'm gonna say debounce to here for now, okay? And then when we are invoking this, then we are gonna get the alert. The problem here is we are creating new function every single time. I'm gonna show you why, okay? So I'm gonna put breakpoint here. In the source, this one is very confusing concept, okay? You need to have a clear understanding of React and then closure, okay? So I'm gonna put breakpoint here. So your ID is undefined, right? And the second time when it gets called, it's still undefined, okay? And then still undefined, right? It's always undefined. That is a problem. So the function that gets returned to be the same function, you need to use a callback, okay? So every re-rendering happening, they're running this code again and again and again and again. That is the problem, right? So to cache this callback, we need to use a callback function, okay? So I'm gonna mark it as use callback here. So here I'm gonna pass the dependency and then use callback. So then now with the use callback, which will return exactly the same function, then the debounce, the ID will be existing next time. So let's try. So here, when I call it, take a look, it's undefined initially. But if I do one more, now it has ID inside. Because we're calling exactly the same function, right? And then call, oops, sorry. So call, and then call, and so 131, 168, 131, 258, second time, and then 133, 255. So always it remembers the ID that needed to be cancelled, right? So because we are calling clear timeout, right? So every single time it remembers the ID, clear it, and then generates new set timeout ID, right? So that's the idea. So then when user is stroking the key, typing the key, it doesn't bring up alert anymore. So this mechanism will be what we'll be using, okay? So let's try now. So the debounce 2 is here. So now then the problem that we need to solve will be we'll be using this guy, and then our logic will be this guy, okay? So this guy we are calling inside here. So what it means, we need to receive all the thing that is necessary not to have any dependencies, right? So I'm gonna do async. Otherwise, your callback will forget, the debounce function will forget the ID because you will be generating brand new, right? So I'm gonna get the content over here. So everything that is inside here will be from this parameter, okay? So the ID is from text ID, and then the content to be text content. So just trying to remove all the dependencies that is possibly creates this function newly when re-render happens, okay? But here now we start to have type errors, right? this callback that we are passing here, we needed to make this parameter dynamic. Okay, so that's why I'm going to accept the function, the generic type that is t, and then this guy will be t. Okay, then what's going to happen to this t though, right? So we don't still know what is a t exactly, right? So somehow we need to let in know what is the actual parameter, right? So to make that happen, we're going to extend, and then we're going to give the function. We got to let it know it's some function, right? That is the first thing. And then what is the parameter that we are accepting, right? So I'm going to say args to make this dynamic, and then this one will be parameters of the t. Okay, because we don't know anything, right? So it can accept the different things, so who knows, right? Then this args will be received this callback, right? So at the end of the day, what it's gonna return will be the t, right? The t, and then here we needed to give the args, the parameter t here. So I'm gonna copy paste here because that's what we'll be receiving here. Then we'll be passing the args to the callback directly. Okay, so awesome. Let me see what is the issue. So this guy is not assignable to t because t overall is assignable to t. So type t, but t could be instantiated with a different subtype of constraint. So args should be parameter t and then void, right? What if we do copy paste here? Error goes, right? Yeah, we cannot just pass the t directly, right? Because it doesn't know. You know what? Let's make it invert, okay? So here I'm gonna just delete the type, okay? So which is good. So with this one, I'm gonna keep it as a utility function that we can use later, okay? So we have library here. We have a utils, file here. I'm gonna just move it here for now, okay? So I'm gonna cut it and then paste here. Okay, looking good. So this debounce will be used here, okay? So awesome. I'm gonna name this a specific function, okay? So this function called debounce and save or update, right? So we can just call it that way, and then I'll be calling this guy here. Of course, it's expecting the ID and the content here, right? So as you can see, it's already inferred, right? Based on the type that we have come up. So we are expecting ID that is number and the content that is a string. So ID we're accepting from here, right? So ID we are gonna pass that. And then the content will be updated content. Awesome. So I think this is it, right? So now let's try to test it out, right? So here, when I update, let's delete. You see it's not updating, but after 1 second, updated. Awesome. Then let's delete all, right? After 1 second, it's updating, right? So heading, it doesn't update right away. So after 1 second, it's updating. So which is good. Yeah, this is exactly what I wanted. Awesome. So I think this wraps up this recording, right? So I'm gonna make a commit I know it was confusing, but this is my solution. Totally up to you if you go with a different path. Okay, so thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.